By the time the siren shut off, everyone in Red Hollow already knew something had gone wrong. They just didn't know how bad yet. Marcus Hale sat in the back of the squad car with blood drying under his fingernails that wasn't his, staring out at the crowd pressing against the yellow tape. Phones up, mouths open. That hungry, rubberneck look people get when tragedy finally knocks close enough to feel real. He'd seen that look before. Too many times. "What's your name again?" the rookie in the front seat asked, like he hadn't already read it twice. "Marcus," he said flatly. "Detective. Or at least I was." The kid nodded, uncomfortable. "Right. Sorry. Habit." Marcus didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the building across the street. St. Agnes Recovery Center. 3 stories of red brick, Gothic windows. Crosses carved so deep into the stone they look more like scars. It used to be a convent back in the 40s. Then an asylum. Then a place they swore helped people get clean. 6 bodies said otherwise. They came out wrapped in white sheets, one by one. No gunshots. No stab wounds. No signs of forced entry. Just expressions frozen in pure animal terror. Mouths stretched wide, eyes blown open like they'd seen something the human brain wasn't built to process. One of them was still alive when Marcus found him. Barely. He swallowed, jaw tightening at the memory. The paramedics wheeled out the last gurney. As they passed, the sheet slipped just enough for Marcus to see her face. Emily Cruz, 22, court-ordered rehab, clean for 93 days. Her eyes were open. They were still moving. Marcus surged forward before anyone could stop him. Hey, hold up." A medic blocked him. "Sir, you can't." "She's conscious," Marcus snapped. "Look at her eyes." The medic hesitated, then leaned in, his face drained of color. "Shit." They lifted the sheet. Emily's lips trembled. A sound crawled out her throat that barely qualified as a voice. "Don't let it finish," she whispered. Marcus leaned close. "Finish what?" Her fingers twitched, clawing weakly at the air. "It learns your name, then your face, then your sins." Her eyes locked onto his. "And then it wears you." Her body went rigid. Flatline. The monitor screamed. No one spoke for a long second. Then the priest showed up. Father Callahan didn't come running. He walked, slow, deliberate, through the chaos like he already knew exactly where the bodies would be. Tall, sharp-featured, collar spotless, eyes too calm for a man standing in a crime scene soaked with death. He stopped beside Marcus. "This place should have stayed closed," the priest said quietly. Marcus stared at him. "You work here?" "I tried to stop it from reopening." "That doesn't answer my question." Callahan finally met his eyes. There was something off there. Not fear, not guilt, recognition. "You ever wake up at 3 in the morning?" the priest asked, "feeling like someone just finished saying your name?" Marcus's blood went cold. "Because it remembers you," Callahan continued, "and it's very patient." Inside the building, a door slammed shut on its own. Somewhere deep in St. Agnes, something dragged its nails along the walls, practicing a voice it hadn't used in years. And Marcus Hale realized the worst part wasn't that 6 people were dead. It was that whatever killed them wasn't done. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He sat in his car outside his apartment, engine off, city humming low around him, replaying Emily Cruz's last words like they'd been carved into the inside of his skull. "It learns your name, then your face, then your sins." He rubbed his eyes hard, like he could scrub the memory out. Didn't work. It never did. At exactly 3:07 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He stared at it for a long beat before answering. "Yeah." Breathing. Slow. Intentional. Too close to the mic. Marcus Hale. The voice said, his grip tightened. "Who is this?" A soft chuckle. "You still wake up at the wrong moment. You always did." The line went dead. Marcus threw the phone onto the passenger seat, like it burned. His heart was racing now, not from fear exactly, more like recognition. That voice had weight to it. History. He finally went inside, locked every door, double-checked the windows like a rookie, then sat on the edge of his bed until dawn broke through the blinds. By the time he got to St. Agnes again, the place looked sterilized. Crime scene units had wiped it down, holy water and bleach mixed into one sour stink. The bodies were gone, but the feeling wasn't. The building still felt crowded. Father Callahan was already there. Marcus spotted him standing in the courtyard, talking quietly to a woman in a state-issued blazer. She had sharp eyes, hair pulled back tight, the posture of someone who didn't believe in coincidences. "That's Dr. Lila Moreno," a voice said behind him. Marcus turned. "Captain Reeves." "Psych consult." Court ordered. Reeves said, "State doesn't like it when 6 people die in a rehab with no clear cause. Makes them look sloppy." Marcus watched Lila shake Callahan's hand. "And the priest?" Reeves sighed. "He's been attached to this place longer than any of us. Officially, he's here for spiritual counseling. Unofficially, he knows things." Marcus didn't like that answer. Inside, the halls echoed wrong. Every footstep came back half a second late, like the building was deciding whether to acknowledge them. The walls were lined with old religious murals. Saints with hollow eyes, demons carved beneath layers of paint like someone tried to bury them instead of erase them. Lila stopped near the common room. "This is where they were found?" Marcus nodded. "No signs of struggle. No drugs. No trauma." She frowned. "Fear can kill." "Not like this." Callahan stood a few feet away, fingers brushing the rosary at his side. "They weren't running from something," he said. "They were being watched." Lila glanced at him. "You speak from experience, Father?" Callahan's jaw tightened. From confession, they moved upstairs. Room 312 still smelled faintly of copper and sweat. Marcus's skin crawled a second he stepped inside. The air felt heavy, like breathing through damp fabric. "This was Emily's room," he said. Lila crouched near the bed. "She had nightmares?" "Every night," Callahan said. "Same time, same screams." Marcus shot him a look. "You didn't mention that." "I wasn't asked." Lila straightened. "What did she say?" Callahan hesitated, just long enough to be noticeable. That something stood at the foot of her bed and recited her life back to her, not the good parts. Marcus felt his stomach twist. "That's not uncommon in trauma patients," Lila said carefully. "No," Callahan replied, "but this part is." He stepped into the center of the room and spoke clearly. It knew details she'd never told anyone. Names, places, things she'd buried so deep she forgot they were real. The lights flickered. Once, twice, then the closet door creaked open. Lila froze. "Did anyone touch that?" Marcus shook his head. From inside the closet came a whisper. Low, familiar. "Marcus." Every muscle in his body locked up. Callahan backed away slowly. "Do not answer it." The whisper deepened, layering over itself, like multiple voices learning to agree. "You left us." Marcus felt the room tilt. "Shut it." "You watched it happen." His ears rang now. He could smell gasoline, hear screaming metal. Lila grabbed his arm. "Marcus, look at me. You're dissociating." The whisper laughed. "Say my name," it urged. Marcus ripped his arm free and slammed the closet door shut. The impact echoed too loud, like it hit something solid on the other side. Silence fell hard. Lila's face was pale. "Okay," she said quietly. "That's not in my textbooks." Callahan exhaled shakily. "It's awake." Marcus leaned against the wall, chest heaving. "What the hell is it?" The priest met his eyes. "A collector." "Of what?" Callahan swallowed. "People who think they got away with something." Down the hall, a door opened by itself. Then another. Footsteps began moving toward them. Slow, patient, like it already knew where they'd run. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Marcus could hear breathing now. Not rushed, not strained. Calm, like whoever stood there had all the time in the world and nowhere else to be. Lila whispered, "Tell me you're hearing that too." "I am," Marcus said, "and I don't like the rhythm." The doorknob turned. Once, twice. Then it stopped like the thing on the other side was smiling to itself. Callahan stepped forward, voice steady but low. You don't belong here anymore. The air shifted. Cold rolled through the room, crawling up Marcus's spine. Oh, I belong wherever I'm remembered, the voice said. Not loud, not threatening. Worse, intimate. This place remembers everything. The lights blew out. Total darkness. Lila cursed under her breath. Marcus's hand went to his gun on instinct, even though every rational part of his brain knew it wouldn't do a damn thing. Something brushed his shoulder. He spun, heart slamming. Get away from me. A face formed in the dark. Not solid, more like a suggestion of one. Eyes first, then a mouth that stretched too wide. You always were jumpy after the crash, it said softly. Marcus felt like he'd been punched. You don't get to talk about that. I get to talk about everything, it replied. I was there. Callahan's voice cut through. Marcus, do not engage it. It feeds on recognition. Too late. The darkness peeled back just enough for Marcus to see it clearly, and that was a real mistake. It was wearing a man's body, but wrong. Skin too tight in places, sagging in others, like it hadn't decided which version to settle on yet. Its eyes were human, though. That was a problem. They held understanding. It smiled. I like her better, it said. Your wife. She tasted honest. Marcus snapped. The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed room. The muzzle flash lit everything for a split second. And in that instant, Marcus saw dozens of faces layered inside the thing. Men, women, young, old, all screaming silently. The bullet passed straight through it and shattered the mirror behind. The lights flickered back on. The room was empty. No footsteps. No breathing. No presence. Just broken glass in Marcus's hand shaking so hard he nearly dropped the gun. Lila stared at him. Your wife. Marcus didn't answer. Callahan knelt slowly, picking up a shard of mirror. His reflection warped across it, splitting his face in two. It's escalating, he said. That's faster than last time. Marcus looked up sharply. Last time. Callahan met his gaze. This isn't the first collector. Silence stretched. Lila crossed her arms. Okay, cards on the table. Now. Callahan straightened. 30 years ago, when this place was still an asylum, something was summoned here, not intentionally, through confession. Guilt piled on guilt until it had enough shape to wake up. Marcus felt sick. You're saying this thing is made of what sins? Unresolved ones, Callahan said. The kind people lie to themselves about. Lila shook her head. That's not how psychology works. No, Callahan replied calmly. That's how faith works when it breaks. They moved downstairs fast after that. The building felt different now. Alert. Hallways tighter. Corners darker than they should have been. In the lobby, Marcus stopped cold. The front doors were gone. Not locked. Not blocked. Gone. Just brick wall where the exit should have been. Lila let out a breathy laugh. Okay. I'm officially freaked out. Callahan closed his eyes. It's sealing the house. For what? Marcus demanded. To finish learning. The priest said. A scream echoed from upstairs. Not human. Not fully. Then another. And another. Marcus turned toward the staircase. There are still people inside. Callahan grabbed his arm. If you go up there, it will follow you out. It wants you. Marcus yanked free. Then I'll keep it busy. He took the stairs two at a time. The third floor was chaos. Doors slamming. Lights strobing. Patients screaming as shadows peeled themselves off the walls and whispered names into ears. Marcus spotted a man curled in the hallway, hands over his head. Hey! Marcus shouted. Get up. Move. The man looked up. It was Marcus. Same face. Same scars. Same haunted eyes. You don't get to save them, the double said quietly. You couldn't even save her. Marcus raised a gun. His double smiled. You already pulled the trigger once, it said. You remember how that ended. The hallway vanished. Marcus was back in the car. Rain hammering the windshield. His wife screaming. Headlights coming too fast. The sound of metal folding. The smell of blood. A voice whispering, "Confess." Marcus dropped to his knees. And somewhere deep inside St. Agnes, the collector settled in closer, finally certain it had found its favorite sin. Marcus came back, gasping like he'd been underwater too long. The hallway snapped back into place around him. Flickering lights, peeling paint, the stink of fear so thick it felt chewable. His knees hit the floor hard enough to jar his teeth, but he barely felt it. His chest burned. His hands were empty. The gun was gone. "Of course it is," he muttered. Down the hall, the screaming stopped all at once. That silence was worse. He pushed himself up and staggered forward, every step feeling like he was walking through someone else's bad memory. Doors hung open now. Inside the rooms, beds were empty, sheets twisted like bodies had evaporated out of them. "Hello?" His voice echoed back wrong, warped. A slow clap answered him. He turned. Father Callahan stood at the far end of the hall. Calm, too calm, hands folded in front of him like this was Sunday service. Marcus squinted. "You're not real." Callahan smiled sadly. "That depends who you ask." Marcus took a step back. "You told me not to engage it." "And you didn't listen," Callahan said gently. "You never do." The priest's face flickered, just for a frame, and Marcus caught it. The eyes were wrong. Too many reflections inside them. "You let this thing loose," Marcus said. "Didn't you?" Callahan sighed. "I helped give it shape." The walls leaned inward. Marcus felt pressure behind his eyes. "Why?" "Because people don't confess anymore," the thing wearing Callahan replied. "They justify. They rewrite. They call it survival." Its voice deep and layering again. "I was supposed to make them honest." A door slammed behind Marcus. Then another. Then all of them. "You're killing them," Marcus said through clenched teeth. "I'm finishing them." The floor rippled. Faces pushed up through the wood like drowning swimmers. Mouths opened. Silent screams. Marcus backed up until his shoulders hit the wall. "You said it feeds on recognition." "Yes," it agreed. "And you see me very clearly now." The thing stepped closer. With each step, its body shifted, Marcus's face sliding in and out of place, his wife's eyes blinking open where Callahan should be. "Say it," it urged softly. "Say what you did." Marcus's throat locked. His pulse roared in his ears. "I didn't kill her," he said. The thing tilted its head. "You ran the light. That doesn't mean—" "You chose speed over stopping," it whispered. "You chose being late over being careful." The hallway dissolved again. This time he was standing outside St. Agnes, watching the building burn. Flames curled out of the windows like grasping hands. Sirens wailed in the distance, but no one came close. Beside him stood Lila, only older, worn down, eyes hollow. "You let out," she said. Marcus shook his head. "No, that's not." "You needed something to punish you," she continued. "So you let it wear a face and call it evil." He turned to her. "You're not real either." She smiled faintly. "Does that matter if it hurts the same?" The fire roared louder. Marcus screamed back. I confessed that I was afraid. Everything froze. The flames stopped moving. The sirens cut out mid-wail. Even the air went still. The collector appeared in front of him, closer than ever, inches away. "That's a start," it said, almost pleased. The scene shattered like glass. Marcus slammed back into his body on the third-floor hallway floor. Real pain this time. Real gravity. He sucked in air. Down the hall, a door creaked open. A real one. A woman stumbled out, one of the patients. Alive. Shaking. Eyes wild but present. Marcus grabbed her. "Move. Now." She nodded, sobbing, and ran. Footsteps thundered on the stairs. Lila burst onto the floor, wild-eyed, holding a fire extinguisher like a weapon. "There you are," she panted. "The exits are back. I don't know how long." She stopped when she saw his face. "Oh, God," she whispered. "It got inside you." Marcus swallowed. "Yeah." Behind them, the hallway lights went steady. Calm. Too calm. From every room at once, the same voice spoke. "I can wait." The building exhaled. And Marcus knew, deep down, bone deep, that this wasn't about St. Agnes anymore. It had learned him, and it wasn't going to let him go. They got out. That alone felt wrong. Marcus stood on the sidewalk watching paramedics load the last survivor into an ambulance. The building of St. Agnes sitting quiet behind him like it hadn't just tried to eat everyone inside. No alarms, no screams, just brick and crosses and closed windows, pretending. Lila wrapped a thermal blanket tighter around her shoulders. "I've been doing this job for 12 years, she said. "I've never seen a mass dissociative episode behave like a coordinated intelligence." Marcus didn't answer. He was staring at the third-floor window. Something moved behind the glass. Captain Reeves approached, face tight. "Fire marshal says faulty wiring caused a blackout. Admin's already pushing the narrative, panic, group psychosis, underlying addiction trauma." "And the dead?" Marcus asked. Reeves hesitated. "Cardiac arrest. Extreme stress response." Marcus laughed once. "It came out ugly. You gonna put that thing in cuffs too?" Reeves lowered his voice. "Off the record? I don't want you anywhere near this case anymore." Marcus finally looked at him. "You don't get to pull me off something that knows my name." Reeves sighed. "You're not thinking straight." "No," Marcus said quietly. "I'm thinking clearly for the first time in years." Lila watched the exchange, eyes sharp. "It followed you, didn't it?" Marcus nodded. "It was already with me. The building just gave it room." That night, Marcus went home to an apartment that didn't feel like his anymore. Every shadow felt occupied. Every reflective surface held the promise of someone else staring back. He covered the mirrors. It didn't help. At 3:07 a.m., the smoke alarm chirped once. Not enough to signal danger. Just enough to wake him. Then the whisper came from the kitchen. "You forgot something." Marcus sat up slowly. His body felt heavy, like gravity had doubled. "I didn't invite you." The lights in the hallway flicked on by themselves. The collector stood there, half-formed, wearing a version of Marcus that looked rested, clean, unburdened. "I don't need invitations," it said. "I need permission." "You don't have it." The thing smiled. "You give it every time you replay the crash." Images flooded his mind. Rain, headlights, the split second where he could have braked harder. "I didn't mean to," Marcus whispered. "I know," the collector said gently. "That's why you're delicious." Marcus grabbed the rosary Callahan had slipped into his pocket earlier, without explanation. The beads burned his palm. The thing recoiled slightly. Just a step. "Ah," it said. "You're learning." "Get out," Marcus said. "Louder now. You're not welcome here." The collector tilted its head. "Then stop carrying me." It dissolved into shadow, soaking back into the corners of the room. Marcus collapsed back onto the bed, shaking. The next morning, Father Callahan showed up unannounced. "You shouldn't be here," Marcus said, not opening the door. "I know," Callahan replied. "That's why I came." They sat across from each other at the kitchen table. Daylight doing very little to soften the place. "You lied," Marcus said, "about your role in this." Callahan nodded. "I thought I could control it, guide it, use it to force truth." And how'd that work out? Callahan's eyes were wet now. It started choosing its own favorites. Marcus leaned forward. "How do you kill it?" "You don't," the priest said. "You starve it." "By what denial?" "By confession," Callahan corrected. "Real confession. Not punishment. Not self-hatred." Marcus laughed bitterly. "You're telling me to forgive myself." "I'm telling you it already knows the worst," Callahan said. "You're the one keeping it alive." Outside, a car alarm went off. Then another. Callahan stood. "It won't stop at you. It's learned how to move now. Jump hosts. Follow guilt." Marcus's jaw tightened. "So what's the plan?" Callahan met his eyes. "We finish what I started. We confront it somewhere it was born." Marcus felt that cold certainty again. "The asylum." Callahan nodded. "The basement." As if on cue, Marcus's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text appeared. "I remember your wife screaming. Do you? Marcus stood, grabbing his coat. Let's go, he said. Before it learned someone else's name, the building across town shuddered as if in response. And deep underground, something smiled, already rehearsing a new voice. The basement smelled like wet stone and old prayers. Marcus felt it the second his boots hit the bottom step. Like the air itself was heavier down here, soaked with decades of whispered guilt and half-truths people thought God would forget. The lights flickered weakly, bare bulbs strung along the ceiling like someone tried to civilize the dark and gave up halfway. This is where they used to bring the violent ones, Callahan said quietly. Solitary. Confession without absolution. Marcus scanned the room. Rusted restraints bolted into concrete. Scratches in the walls that weren't made by fingernails alone. So this is where you fed it, Marcus said. Callahan didn't argue. The door at the top of the stairs slammed shut on its own. The bulbs burst one by one, plunging the basement into shadow. Then the voice came from everywhere. You came back to tell the truth, it said, pleased. I was hoping. The collector emerged slowly, forming itself out of darkness and memory. It wore Marcus's face again, but older this time. Hollowed, tired, honest. You always wondered why you survived, it said. Why she didn't. Marcus swallowed. His hands were shaking, but he didn't look away. I know why. The thing paused. That was new. Oh, because accidents happen, Marcus said, and I didn't mean for anyone to die. The collector's smile faltered. Callahan stepped forward, rosary clenched tight. You don't get to define us anymore. The thing laughed, but there was strain in it now. You gave me shape, Father. You begged for me. I begged for forgiveness, Callahan said. You were what showed up instead. The walls started to bleed shadows again. Faces pressed through, patients, priests, sinners, victims. All the people the collector had ever worn. I am their truth, it hissed. I am the part they couldn't live with. Marcus stepped closer. No, you're the part that wouldn't let them heal. The thing turned to him, eyes narrowing. Say it, it demanded. Say you killed her. Marcus shook his head, steady now. I ran a light. I made a mistake. I didn't choose her death. The collector screamed, not in rage, but in pain. The faces and the walls began to fade, dissolving like smoke. The shadows peeled back, retreating. Callahan dropped to his knees, whispering a prayer that wasn't in any book. You're starving me, the collector gasped. You need me. Marcus felt tears burn his eyes. I needed punishment. That's not the same thing. The thing staggered, its form cracking, pieces of borrowed flesh sloughing off like ash. You'll miss me, it said weakly, at 3 a.m. Yeah, Marcus replied, but I'll live. The collector let out one last, shuddering breath, and collapsed inward, folding into itself until there was nothing left but cold air and silence. The basement lights came back on. Real light. Callahan slumped forward, exhausted. It's gone. Marcus nodded slowly. No, it's finished. Weeks later, St. Agnes stayed closed. The official reports blamed infrastructure damage, psychological fallout, lawsuits no one wanted to touch. Marcus resigned from the force. No ceremony, no speeches, just a badge left on a desk and a door quietly closing behind him. He still woke up some nights at 3:07 a.m. But now, there was no whisper, just memory. And memory, he learned, wasn't a monster unless you fed it. On his wife's birthday, Marcus stood at her grave, rain falling soft and steady. I'm sorry, he said, and I forgive myself. The wind moved through the trees. Nothing answered back. And for the first time in years, that felt like peace.